Wow. That makes me feel good.
We hope so, yeah. So, I'm going to start with my initial impression when I saw this film from the very beginning. When Bad Blake gets out of his car, you know, grizzly, bedraggled, seedy. I could almost smell the character. It was one of the most lived-in characters that I've seen in a movie. And I wanted to know, how did you get there? Was it partly rehearsal, improvisation, or was it just in the script for you?
I approached preparation for this part like I do most of them, where I look inside myself, think of different aspects of myself that I might use. And I've been puke drunk in my time. I have, experienced bad hangovers. This was all helpful. Been writing and playing music since I was a teen. But the preparation for this movie really started 30 years ago when I did Heaven's Gate. And on that movie, Chris Christopherson, who was a role model for me on this one. But what Chris did is he invited all of these wonderful musician friends of his. We had Ronnie Hawkins and Norton Buffalo and T-Bone Burnett and Stephen Bruton were also there. So that was 6 months of jamming with those guys. And then 30 years later, we made this movie. But I look back to Heaven's Gate and think about that as preparation for this film. But my main role model in this movie was Stephen Bruton, who the film is dedicated to. And he died shortly after the film was completed, and he was with me every step of the way from, helping me about a month before we started shooting, getting a band together and teaching me to, play all those songs. He wrote probably the majority of the songs. And then when we were working, he was there every step of the way, and I encouraged him, and so did Scott Cooper, the director, to, give any bits of insight that he might have on what it was like, what this scene might have been like, because his life paralleled Bad's. For instance, that opening scene that you're talking about, where you said you could almost smell me.
I felt it.
That was his idea. He said, when I drive from town to town, he says, I don't like to pull over to take a leak. I'll just take a sparkless bottle, And so, we write that down. But that was, he would have loads of ideas like that.
I was also smelling some cigarette butts and some stale, a lot of stuff altogether. Now, when you got the script, I gather that the music had not yet been written. And I'm wondering, ultimately, did you want to play this part more for the actor dealing with the script, or more as a musician who'd be able to perform these songs? And did the songs have as much to help you shape the character as the dialogue and movements?
Well, I initially turned it down because it was missing that's such an important piece. There was no music, there was no musical director, and the bar was set pretty high with the Fabulous Baker Boys musically. It had all those great pop and jazz standards, and Dave Grusin, was the head of the thing. And here we had none of that, so I enjoyed the script, but that was a huge missing piece. So about a year later, I ran into my buddy T-Bone, and he said, "What do you think of Crazy Heart?" And I said, "Why?" He asked, "Are you interested in that?" And he said, "Yeah, if you are, I am." I said, "Oh, come on, let's go." And that's kind of how it happened.
Now, did you record the songs prior to shooting? Like when we see you performing?
Yeah.
Or you
we did it, both ways. We pre-recorded it. And T-Bone used that same wonderful band that he used with Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, that album Rising Sand. And then when we shot, I would sing back to playback, and then I also had a version of the music without any singing, so I did it live. And then Scott, their director, would pick the best one. I was very concerned that it looked like it was coming out of my mouth, but I sang them. But sometimes I sang it live, and sometimes it was pre-recorded.
And by the way, it occurs to me, in case some of you don't know, T-Bone Burnett, as a music producer, has also been responsible for the soundtracks of the Coen Brothers' "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" and "Walk the Line." I mean, he's really done a tremendous.
Big Lebowski.
And the Big Lebowski. How dare I not mention that first? Now, in the film, I mean, I love the scenes where you're doing the more intimate performances, whether it's in a dive or a club, but the stadium scenes, were you and Colin Farrell really performing in front of thousands of country music fans?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. To get out there, you know, we had about 15 minutes to sing 2 songs. You know, Colin had another song to do. And Toby Keith was kind enough, and also Montgomery Gentry, the opening act for him, they both were kind enough to let us cut a little bit into their act and give us that, you know, the halftime stage to do that stuff. And it was wild, man. I mean, God, you know, having all those cameras zipping around you in the audience. And
you couldn't do too many takes, huh?
No, that was it. Just, you know, one take. I think maybe they let us have one other take and one of the songs.
Okay. Now, I considered it a sufficiently happy ending that in the epilogue 16 months later, Bad Blake is still alive, he's survived, and he's writing good music, and I didn't want any fake romantic ending, but it occurred to me that was there anyone along the way who was really in the script stage, let's say, saying, can't the two of them get together at the end, Gene and him? Was that ever an option? Because I'm hoping the answer is no, but I'm just curious whether that gets talked about.
No, the answer is no. But it went the other way. Actually, we shot the ending. The book ends in a little darker fashion, and we actually shot that ending where Bad, after he knocks at Gene's door, he proceeds to go to the nearest bar, and he picks up a girl, and they go off drinking, and the car breaks down in the rain, and he's going to go off and get some help, and he carries his bottle, and he falls down in the rain, and looks up at the clouds and says, you know, Otis, goddamn, and that's the end of the movie. And they shot that. I love the way the movie, you know, ends now.
Yeah. It's not a fake romantic
That's
ending.
right. Yeah, no, it's good.
But there's still a connection between them.
Yeah. I
really
like the way it
important.
ends.
Yeah. Now, especially because Robert Duvall plays a small part in this film and is one of the producers of the film, his company. Obviously, Tender Mercies is a touchstone film for so many of us, and I would gather especially for you. Was that film important to you when it came out in '83, or did you go back to it now knowing that you'd be playing a broken down country western singer with a strange relationship to a child?
I'd love that movie when it came out, but I haven't seen it since then. I didn't refer to it or anything. It was wonderful to work with Bob. What a great actor, and be my best friend into the thing. We've known each other for maybe 40 years or something. We haven't worked together.
Yeah, that's right. I was going through your filmography and trying to find whether Duvall and you had crossed paths before, but there was nothing in terms of the professional relationship. No. But I do know, and I'll mention this because I think he's either backstage or here. I met many years ago through Robert Duvall when it was Angelo, My Love, and then The Apostle, a fantastic cinematographer named Barry Markowitz. And I was not surprised when I first saw Crazy Heart to see his name as the DP. He shot this film, and
Absolutely.
He's here with us tonight. Barry, are you in the audience? There you
there
are.
He is. Barry
He did a great
Markowitz.
job with the visuals. Oh, no, stand up. It's all right. And actually, another film, did you ever see Payday with Rip Torn?
Oh, yeah. God, one of my favorites. Payday.
I recommend to anybody here who hasn't seen it, 1973, Payday, starring Rip Torn as a kind of brother to you and Duvall.
Yeah, he's a wonderful. You like that movie Heartland? It's one of my favorite movies as well.
That too.
Richard Pierce, he's great.
Yes.
That was a great movie.
Conchata Ferrell and Rip Torn.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh man, great movie.
But I'm going to move right on because I know we got to let you go soon, and I'm so scared of not having a chance to let the audience ask some questions too. All right, you know what? Because I know that we don't have too much time. If people have questions, we'll start to take them right away, and then I will ask one or two whenever. Right here. Go ahead, and I'll repeat. Out of all the roles you've played, are there any that are particularly close to your heart? Or second part, any famous roles that you've ever turned down?
Well, usually the most current role is the closest to my heart because it's kind of the freshest. And this one, I mean, even if it wasn't current, this one, I had a great time making it, and I love the way it all pasted together. There's so many places where a movie can fall apart. It can, you can have a great time, but it cannot, paste together well. Or you can even love the end result, and then there's no distribution, or somehow that falls apart. And this one, all those elements are coming together. Fox Searchlight's doing such a great job with, in the distribution of it. And as far as other movies that are close to my heart, anytime I work with my family, it's really a great experience. So I've done one with Bo, my brother, a Fabulous Baker Boys. My dad, oh, thanks. That's close to my heart, for not only because I'm working with Bo, but I get to do the music thing again and work with Michelle, who's just incredible in that, and also the great director Steve Kloves. Can you believe it? He was 23 when he wrote that, and 25 when he directed that. Isn't that amazing?
Same age as Orson Welles when he directed Citizen Kane.
That's it. I mean, I've had such wonderful success and great experience with first-time directors. I mean, there's so many movies I've made with first-time guys that have turned out well.
Including Crazy Heart. I mean, the truth is, when I saw this film, I was very surprised that it was a first-time director. Because it's not just that everything coheres, there's not a wasted moment in the film. In other words, a lot of first-time directors, they don't know when to cut. They won't let go of some of their precious little moments.
Yeah.
And everything just kept moving so fast that I just felt I was propelled, almost like a good country music song.
Yeah, he knows how to do it. And then, of course, my father, I got to work with him as a kid on Sea Hunt, quite a bit. Yeah. And then as an adult, in Tucker and Blown Away. Yeah. My dad, it's just a funny kind of side story, but my dad, he taught me, so much about everything about acting, really. But one of the things I observed in him was his frustration that he had with creating that strong persona that he did in Sea Hunt, because he pulled that off so well that people thought he was a skin diver. They gave some acting lessons to or something, and he got a lot of scripts, but they were all scripts that were about skin diving. And then later when we did Blown Away, I went up to the producer and I told him, I said, there's a guy who you might want to consider to play my uncle. He looks a bit like me, and he's a wonderful actor, Lloyd Bridges. What do you think about that guy? And he said, well, your dad, he's a great actor, but he's really thought of more of as a comedian. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the airplane movies, I said, oh my God, so it really taught me I didn't want to develop a strong persona for that very reason. Yeah. So I kind of try to mix it up.
Well, we talked earlier, I mentioned that you defy typecasting of any kind. By the way, the clip we showed from Tucker ended with a shot of your father as the senator in the back of the room. And for those who, Mark reminded me of some of the parts that Lloyd Bridges has done. I forgot that he was in High Noon.
Oh, yeah.
In Home of the Brave and A Walk in the Sun. A great actor.
He replaced Richard Kiley in Man of La Mancha on Broadway. Oh, yeah. Sure.
That's a new one for me. Okay, see, I only know from film. I never know what's happening outside of a movie screen. And she had asked about parts that you've turned down.
Oh, yeah.
Is it true you turned down Jaws, the Richard
No,
Dreyfuss part?
I read that. I think it's on the internet or something.
Yeah,
I get that a lot. All of these, Raiders of the Lost Ark and all kinds of things. No, I didn't turn down any of those movies.
Good. We're glad for the ones you took.
Yeah.
Sir.
Uh-huh.
I was just wondering, is there any chance of you and your niece and your father all doing a play together?
The gentleman said, I used to see your niece, Emily Bridges, in plays at Fordham University. Any chance that you and she might perform together in a play?
Any particular play you'd like to do?
Is there any play that you would like to do?
I hope that we'll work together sometime. She's a wonderful actress. Also, Jordan Bridges, a nephew of mine, Bo's son, is also a wonderful actor. And Bo and Em are doing a really interesting project. Do you know the book, Acting, the First 6 Lessons?
No.
Does anybody know that? Any actors out there? So yeah, you know that book, and they've created it made it into a play, and they're going to perform that. So you can look forward to seeing that. That should be great. And I have no real plans to do any theater right now.
You were once, though, part of a theater group, Theater West?
Theater West, I was a member there for a while. I did a lot of summer stock with my dad when I was growing up.
Right. But you haven't done any theater in
No,
years.
not for a while, no.
The film roles keep on coming, so
Yeah.
it's not a surprise. To the right there? Am I right?
You probably get this a lot. Can you talk a little bit about your experience making The Big Lebowski?
Can you talk a little about your experience making The Big Lebowski?
Did you have any idea it was going to take on the cult following?
Did you have any idea that it was going to take on the cult following that it has?
Ah, yeah. Oh, man. Well, that's certainly one of my favorites. That'd be on that list.
The Dude.
And no, I was kind of disappointed when it first came out and it didn't do much because I thought it was so funny, you know. And then it kind of hit Europe and was a bigger hit over there and then splashed back over here and has now become, you know, this kind of underground hit. And they have these things called Lebowski Fests.
I know. My students have told me about
They
them.
go on for like a couple of days, you know, 2-day event. They bowl and movies are projected on the walls and everybody dresses up like, you know, bowling pins and all different characters. I went to one once and I had my Beatle moment. I performed to a sea of dudes, you know, and when I came out, they just went, crazy, and it was really quite wonderful.
You know, the Coen brothers, it was, that film was already a riff on American popular culture, and now it's entered into American popular culture in its own terms. You're going to work with them again, True Grit? Did I hear
That's
this
right,
correctly?
in March, yeah.
And you're going to play Rooster Cogburn?
That's right.
The only part for which John Wayne won an Oscar, incidentally.
Yeah, that's it.
And with Matt Damon, is that correct?
Matt Damon and Josh Brolin. Yeah, it should be good.
Now, there is a film I would like to see.
Yeah. Now we got to find a nice girl, you know, 14-year-old girl, sort of like, you know, remember how wonderful Tatum O'Neal was?
Oh, yeah.
God,
Paper
in
Moon.
Paper Moon. Oh, my God. That's what, you know, we're looking for a Tatum O'Neal. Some sort.
New York has probably got a few
Yeah.
of them for us. All the way in the middle there, yes?
I was wondering if you got as much of a kick as we did watching the dude walk up to a bowling alley in the
Ah! You know,
Did you get as much of a kick as we did tonight watching the dude going up to a bowling alley at the beginning of the film?
Scott, the director and writer, had never seen Lebowski, so he had no idea of what he was doing. Isn't that something? I got a kick out of it, yeah.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions, but I'm going to hold off in case. In the balcony, I can't see you, so just yell.
What about the child? Who played the child?
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, right?
The child had a great name. His name was Jack Nation, like he was like a superhero or something. And he was, he was really something to work with. You know, had no acting experience, thank God. You know, because kids
Fresh.
that age usually they're kind of surrogates of their parents' version of what it doesn't usually work very well. And this kid was just playing, you know, which is, I often think of what I do as sort of advanced pretend. You know, I used to love to play pretend when I was a kid, and that's kind of what acting is in a way. And
Very high-class
and,
pretend.
And this kid was so great to work with, except his challenge for the day, sort of the object of his day, right, Barry, you remember this, was to hit the microphone, you know, so he'd kind of like pretend he wasn't looking and then get it, you know. But he was so wonderful to work with and really kept you on your toes because you never knew what he was going to say. You know. He was like a miniature Bob Duvall, you know.
In the balcony there, yes.
Was the film shot in sequence?
Was the film shot in sequence? How did that affect your character?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I usually, one of the things I do to prepare is do a breakdown of the movie where I can look at the whole thing, no matter how many scenes there are in it. I can look at the whole movie on 2 pages of paper like this. And because normally you do shoot out of sequence, and then I kind of track it with I get the satisfaction of hitting the yellow marker with the scenes we do. And so I can see what we've shot, what's going to come next, and what's going to come after. But we shot, we shot it all mixed up. I think the scene at the door was probably the second day of shooting. So we shoot it all out of sequence.
Right. Got it. Yes. Why was the decision made to change the original ending?
Well, we shot let me see. I think in the original script. Well, no, I remember talking to Scott. Now he said he wanted to shoot that scene, and then we would still have 16. The 16 months later, or whatever it was, and then we had this, and having never shot a film and not really knowing how that was going to all assemble, together. That was a decision that he made in the cutting room, and there's something that kind of great that happens with a movie where it starts to have a life of its own, and it starts to dictate to you what it wants, and sometimes you'll love the characters. And I remember doing a movie, American Heart, and I loved those characters. I wanted my character to live. I was producing, and I said, I want the guy to live. Come on, let's. And so we shot, me and Levin, and we tried it, and the film just went. It was like Teflon. It just wouldn't stick. Everything felt real, and then so it starts to tell you, and then just the timing of it. You don't know what it's going to be like when you get it all together. What the timing of it's going to feel like, and this is the way the story wanted to be told.
Yeah. Yes.
Did you get to do a lot of photography around this set?
The question is, did you get to do a lot of photography on this set the way you've done on some of the others? Because one of the things I was going to get into, but didn't think I'd have time to get into, this is a world-class photographer. Backstage, I have his book called Pictures. For 30 years, or more than 30 years, you've been taking photographs on the set of your films, and then at the end giving a book to cast and crew of, a record of the experience. So, okay, did you do it on this one too?
And I did a compilation of these little books that were gifts to the cast and crew, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And once I put that book out, I kind of, that was kind of it for me, and I wasn't taking photographs as much, a little bit, but wasn't as consistent. And on Crazy Heart, I was taking them, and I decided at the last minute to put a book together. So I have put a book together, and I'm thinking about probably putting a version of it on my site, on my website. So if you're interested, you might check that out.
Do you still use this wide lux camera?
Yeah, that's the only thing I shoot with.
It's a camera that has like a 180-degree range. It's like a panning camera.
It's a panning camera, yeah. I came across it the first time in high school, when there was a rumor going around that the guy who was coming to take our class picture was using a camera that panned, and if you ran around real quick, you could be in the picture twice. And it was true, you could. And it's a wonderful camera.
And for those of you who like black and white movies, I should mention that the photos in this book are black and white, and they are so rich. This like chiaroscuro, you get beautiful.
Well, it's great. The camera, it's like how the eye sees to me. Where if I was taking a picture of here, I'd see you, and I'd see like this far. So you kind of get to look around in the frame. It's
very cinematic.
Really great picture.
I have a stupid last question, but because I like the songs in this film so much, and Fox Searchlight has this fantastic track record. Last year, Best Song Oscars was Jai Ho from Slumdog Millionaire. Before that, from Once Falling Slowly was from... Do you have any input into which song they're going to push most?
I would hope it's The Weary Kind. I think that's such a beautiful song that Ryan Bingham wrote.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting story of how he got involved. Colin Farrell saw him performing in a little dive in L.A., Cantor's Deli. And this guy was living out of his car like bad, And he turned Scott Cooper onto him, the director, and thought he might be good for Tony. And he plays the part of Tony, the guy who knocks on my door and asked me to come and rehearse with him. And Scott said, yeah, if you got any songs, you know, I'd be interested in hearing them. And he called him up the next day and said, I got one, I think. And Scott invited him over to T-Bone's, and he sat down there and played this song. And I remember watching T-Bone's face, you know, because what a relief, I mean, you know, for the musical director. If you didn't have that song that the guy's been working, you know, on the whole movie, the movie wouldn't work. You know, you needed that song. And so, you know, seeing T-Bone listening to it and loving the song, but also knowing, oh, we got this song. Oh, God. The relief, you know. But it's a beautiful song.
Oh, yeah. So are a few of the others. So it's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
a
it
little
was
hard.
a great, great soundtrack.
And is the film being positioned in terms of Golden Globes as a drama or as a musical?
I don't know.
Because I think it could work in either way.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm supposed to let you out of here so you can do the Today Show. I just want to say that, you know, in 2 days or so when the film opens, I know everyone's going to be talking about Crazy Heart. This lucky group gets to talk about it even earlier because I know how much we appreciated this film, but also we've been appreciating you for about 4 decades.
Well,
and even
thank
having
you
a
so
little of
much.
you tonight, it's heaven.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.